Hello, good evening, and welcome to the midweek fix for this Wednesday. No, what day is it?
Yes, no, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday. This is a midweek fix for Tuesday. It's a season review. Usually on a Wednesday, the midweek fix. That's why I got all confused there, Joe. But tomorrow is all about Divock Origi. It's Divock Origi night on the LFC Daytrippers tomorrow night. But tonight it is the midweek fix. It's a season review where we're going to look at all or most of the Premier League teams. What we thought at the start of the season, how they performed, were they good, were they bad, what do you think for next season, and we're going to have a lot. We're going to have a go at Frank Lampard because that's why Joe is here, basically. And listen, I asked Joe last week to come on this show. We went, are you asking me on Tuesday to say goodbye? Is that what it is? And I went, no, not at all. And Leeds, of course, stayed up. So Joe was absolutely buzzing. He is a bit freaked out at Thor's comment. He went, there's people in the chat here asking me where the fucking head the money is, what's going on. That's just an Everton thing, Joe. Do not worry about it. So everybody's welcome. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. As you know, from the 4th of June we will no longer be asking people to like, subscribe or share. Just stick comments in. We're not asked if you like or subscribe anymore. If you want to, you will. If you don't, you won't, because we can't affect you either way. Joe, how are you?
Oh mate, I'm over the moon. I was going to comment myself saying like how you'd invited me on and I was like, oh, is this just to say goodbye? I was like thinking, honestly, it's like my whole like, not just the football club and having to go, oh man, the championship, and I was thinking everything's going to have to change again, and oh, we've only been up here 2 years, like why? And then for the final day to go how it did for us. Yep. Oh, mate, over the moon. And do you know what? I feel like we did a service because I think a lot of people for a long time now have said they're sick of Burnley. They're sick of Burnley. So thankfully we were able to do our business. The Geordies, thankfully, Eddie Howe stuck to his word, put out a strong side. And yeah, we stayed in the division and I think 2 years is the thing, innit, Gav? I've noticed like with Wolves, with Villa, with Leicester. Get in them 2 years and then you can start to push, you know. Yep. And thankfully we did it, you know.
And Sheffield United finish really well, I think about 10th in their fourth season, and then they're just obliterate. If you can stay up for the second season, financially it'll put you on a really, it allows you to expand in a second, in a third year. And not only that, it allows you to look around the league, see who you're up against, and find your rightful place in the league. You know, because when teams come up in the 4 seasons, like just stay up. Leeds were like that last season, and this season you were probably thinking mid-table, probably push around there. And some of it comes of a shock, like Leeds have got this season. Yeah. But with the fact that you're going into your 3rd season, you've seen what you can do, you've seen what others can do, and not only that, you've 2 years of Premier League money behind you, which is colossal. Exactly. It's 200 million quid, more or less. You know, the sort of way, probably more. That's just a rough estimate on my part. And then you can start to look to build, you know. And in fairness, some teams come up in their second year, they take that risk by not overexerting themselves in the transfer market, because there's always that worry that it can go horribly wrong and the parachute payments won't mean shit to you because you've given players huge contracts. Villa were a bit different. I think Villa come up and spent about 150 million quid when they come up, but nearly went down, if you remember. I think they survived at West Ham on the last day.
Yeah, well, it was the goal, wasn't it? They got who was it who scored a goal against them, and the goal line technology.
Oh, the watch was broken. Was it Sheffield United?
Potentially, yeah. I think it might have been,
Yeah. So what you see there is that there's different ways of going about it. Villa would have been in all sorts of trouble if they'd have went down that season. Yeah. But now you see them. They have a new manager in Gerrard. They're progressing. They've made a good signing yesterday, and you can see it from Villa. You know that they're looking to build. They're not looking behind them. They're looking to build. Yeah. Where some players or some teams try to do that too early. But I'm definitely going to talk about Leeds in a bit, right? I'm going to say stuff you like, and I'm going to say stuff you don't like. So let me put that on record before we go, right?
That's fine, man.
Let's start at the top though. Manchester City are champions. They pipped Liverpool to the league by 1 point. Taking them as a 2 though, you know, because I think they stand out. Like, you know, it wasn't a top 4 race. It was 2 spaces they were chasing because Liverpool and City. But overall, Is that what you expected from the start of the season? Did you enjoy watching City and Liverpool? And it was just so close. It came down to the last couple of minutes.
Yeah. Did I expect them to be up there? Yeah, of course. I did think they'd have been joined by Chelsea, but obviously we'll get on to Chelsea. I did think it would have been a three-horse race. I remember talking about it before the start of the season when they got Lukaku and stuff. It was like, oh, the missing piece of the jigsaw, So obviously there was chatter about Kane. Had he gone in, I think I'd have, spoke on City, but there wasn't really a standout at the start of the season. In terms of do I enjoy watching them too? Yeah. Like, for me, it's perfect, Gav. I understand Leeds United ain't up there. So what's the perfect scenario for me? It's Liverpool or City, because I don't like Chelsea or Man United. I did a video today just speaking about Calvin, and maybe he goes to City, maybe he don't. But I always said, like, for me, as a Leeds fan, if he was to progress, I would say Liverpool or City, happily. It is what it is. I like them two clubs. There's a little part of me, we had a discussion. I was like, a little part of me wanted Liverpool. Like, I'm easy either way. Obviously, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But I was more like, I really wanted Liverpool to maybe win the title so we could have the quadruple, and then the treble could never be spoken about again. Like, so there was a little bit of that. But mate, it's been a joy. Thiago, okay. I wouldn't say he was. I know some people called him a flop, which was mad, but he had an indifferent start. But I mean, I thought he was exceptional towards the back end. Your man Diaz. I mean, what a signing he is, mate. And and then City are enjoyable to watch, aren't they? They are what they are.
They are what they are, and I try very hard not to. It's very hard not to speak about City and come across as a bit sour grapes, stuff like that. It's not.
I seen Keith the other night. Don't worry, I seen him when he went in on them.
He went in on them. He goes in 2-footed and doesn't give a shit. And he's right too, because as I said in this channel, we answer to nobody. We don't have any people that we have to answer to or anything like that. We self-manage what we say, to be honest. But look, I've said openly, numerous occasions, Liverpool or Manchester City are a fabulous football team. Taking away who they are, where they are, and how they get there. If you look at them just on a footballing basis, they're a great side to watch. Now, they're brilliant at what they do. Do I watch a lot of them? No, I think they bore me a little bit, because it's a lot of get behind the fullback, cut it back, and tap in at the back post sort of stuff. But it's very effective. And it's pressure. They've some fantastic footballers. Kev De Bruyne is just out of this world as a footballer for me. I think Bernardo Silva, I don't like him, but I think he's a brilliant footballer. I really like Laporte. I think he's a fantastic footballer. Cancelo the same. There's loads of players in that team that would be basically very easy to like. They're very easy to like as players. As a club, they're a doped up Gillingham. There's just no other way. They are like they're just a team that they haven't built a history, they've created one. And that kind of annoys me a little bit. But that's the world you're living in now. And would Liverpool winning the title be more celebrated? No, not from fan bases all over the country. But I think it probably mean more, just because of A, who Liverpool are, and B, the way Liverpool have built. But that's the world you're in. Chelsea, they built it in a different way. Well, it was a one-man show that built it. Newcastle are coming along now. They're the latest team that are going to be doped up to the eyeballs and ran by, more or less a sovereign state. And there's nothing you can really do about it, because the powers that be let it happen. And overall, if you take it on football, the two best sides in the country.
Do you begrudge it, Gav? Do you begrudge it?
Do I begrudge it? I don't know if you can begrudge it, because, they are where they are. And all the money in the world, which they do have, you still have to go and do it.
Yeah.
And, you've seen Mancini with all the money at his disposal and lost. I think he loses an FA Cup final to Wigan. You see, I always get his name wrong. Pellegrini. Yeah. He he won a couple of league titles, I think. But in Europe, wasn't happening. But maybe now, City could tell you they were building at that stage. Pep hasn't won a European Cup. They're built to dominate in domestically, and they're trying to build to try dominate in Europe. And so far, they haven't done it. Are they a big club? No, not in my opinion. I think they're a middle of the road club that have been pumped with a load of money. It kind of goes beyond begrudging it now because it's just what we live in. You know, it's not like you can point at them and say, "Oh, look at them, I begrudge them," because that's what they're doing. Chelsea are a bit the same, although I did say last night Chelsea were winning FA Cups 3 years before Abramovich comes in. I think they win a Cup Winners' Cup in '99, which is about 4 years before Abramovich
It was
comes
like
in.
Vialli and Zola and all them folks.
Yeah, so they were kind of building.
Yeah.
But it's, look, I don't think it's the best way to run a football club. And people have said to me, you know, "Oh, what would you do? If Liverpool had that money, you wouldn't be giving out. If Liverpool had that money, I would. The where it comes from. I have no problem with teams coming in like United. United are a behemoth because of what they done from the early 90s, right? When they seen the opening in the Premier League and went for it. And they've built up their money-making machine. They're probably still the biggest money-making machine football-wise in the world, although Real, Barcelona and Liverpool are actually very close to them. You know, I've no issue with that. If you lose that, you lose that. This is artificial, in my opinion. And that's not me. That's not me before City fucking fans come out and go, "Oh, you're only being this, you're only being that." I know a couple of City fans and they're all sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're delighted with what's going on. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But because of where Liverpool are, I wouldn't be comfortable with it. And that's why I always kind of say be careful what you wish for when you come to who owns Liverpool after FSG, because in my opinion Liverpool are a 9 out of 10 club. The only thing that makes them a 10 out of 10 club is actually unlimited funds. You know, they're probably 9.5, 9.6 as a club. And there's only one way it can go. Two ways, in my opinion. One, that sort of money coming in and where it's coming from. Or an individual that has just monstrous wealth that wants to put their name beside Liverpool Football Club. You're not going to go any other way. You're not going to go fan ownership or anything like that. So it's
do you worry that, like, I don't know how the structure works at Liverpool, but like having someone like, because we've spoke about American ownership on my show, because obviously the 49ers are linked to Leeds United.
Yeah.
Are actually American owners any good? And like people say, well, what about Liverpool? But then is it not more so Klopp and actually acquiring the right players? Do you worry that if Klopp goes, I guess Klopp and Pep leave either side, there's going to be a drop off. But do you worry that the gap between you and City could look really big again? Just because of the money they can spend.
No, I get that. I said it last night. If City had a problem with players overplayed in the World Cup, they could probably go out into January and stick 150 million down the table without thinking. You know, Klopp is a ridiculous manager. I've said it. I think he's the best manager we've had since Paisley, and Paisley's not been at the club since 1983 or 4. Do you know what I mean? He's not the biggest personality at the club since Paisley. I think Kenny Dalglish is, but yeah, you don't want to lose Klopp. Why would you? You know, the sort of way. Yeah. But I think the structure Liverpool have in place is exemplary from top to bottom. All the people in the right place. You know, and although Klopp will be a massive loss, I don't ever want to see him leave the club. I think if you were to give me a situation where Liverpool had to lose Klopp, I think they're in the best possible situation to lose him, if that makes sense. You know,
I get it,
Pep is a brilliant manager. It can be thrown at him that, you know, well, he's taking the easy option. Yeah, he's taking the strongest clubs. He's in the league and he with the most money, and that's being it. There would be a drop off though, because I think the way he plays football, I think, is different to what Pellegrini done or Mancini done or whoever. But no, I think the only way City pull away is just that relentless amount of money, you know, and you're up against it. But listen, things are cyclical, aren't they, Joe? They can change, and you know, in 5 years' time, City's owners could go, "That's enough." We've won it, we've won 2 Champions Leagues in 5 years. You know, it's what more can we do? And it goes. You never really know. But listen, I think the top 2. I think the title race has been brilliant. There was ebbs and flows. There was draws here. Draws were like defeats. City were so far clear. Liverpool 50 out of 54 points in the last 18 games.
You were 14 points off in January. That's like, I think, was it 14 points? That's insane that you've managed to bridge that gap. And you'd argue, I know it's 38 games for a reason, but you'd argue if there was a couple more weeks on it, you probably would have picked them to the post. I think, just because of but it's 38 games for a reason. But
I think if they'd have got to a Champions League final and beaten us in FA Cup semi-final, I think we would have won the league. Because I think there was signs there that City were starting to run out a bit of steam. Run out a bit of steam. But that's how it goes. We were talking about it last night, and we were saying, like Dicko was saying to us last night, I feel just like we've missed winnable leagues, and I'm kind of going, but they only feel like they're winnable because we're squeezing everything we can out of this club to be on 92, 97, 99 in the last 4 years. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, and you've won title. That's what you're up against. The sort of way. But look, it is what it is. I think both Liverpool and City have been brilliant. Between them, it's 76 games. They drop points combined in 19. I think. They drop points in 19 games combined over 76. So they're two really, really good football teams. And going into next season, I expect both of them to be at the top again. But we'll get on to the other teams and see if you think any different. Chelsea, you wanted to talk about them.
I just didn't see such a drop off in terms of the league. I know there's I listen to I sample a lot of YouTube stuff, and there's a Chelsea fan, Matisse, made a great point in that people say it's been a bad season for Chelsea, but you could argue they're 2 penalty shootouts away from 2 trophies. So can we really judge a season on 2 penalty shootout losses and say it's overall really bad? Maybe it's not. But in terms of the league, like how far they were away, especially when you consider they they're champions of Europe until the weekend, of course. But I just didn't envisage the drop off. Genuinely, you could argue a couple of weeks back. I mean, I never said it, but others said it. Like Oscar on my show, for example, was saying you never know, they might lose third. I never thought that would happen, but the fact we even started to converse about that shows just how far their drop off has been. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Chelsea Football Club, and this new ownership and that, I personally would like to see it go a little bit tits up. It is what it is. They've had their time, haven't they? Like you were saying, it's football cyclical, and they had Roman. But listen, maybe they'll go a different tact, and maybe they'll look at Tommy Tuchel and say, do you know what, let's try build something now like Pep and Klopp. And maybe that's the route they'll go under the new ownerships. I don't know enough.
Do you think they're a cup side?
Yeah.
I think they're a cup side.
Yeah.
But you see, I think a couple of things have gone against them. Sorry, Mickey Friars and a few more have said the breaking news: Klopp is the LMA Manager of the Year. That's just been announced. So congratulations to Jurgen Klopp. I think it's well deserved. I think one of your friends is in here. Let me get this up. Rusty Smith says, "Joe, mate, you've been stitched up here." He said, "This is just a poor loser crybaby podcast." It's far from it. It's far from it. But I will give my honest opinion on things. And listen, on the pitch, just going back to it quickly, on the pitch, Liverpool weren't league champions. And that's absolutely fine. I'm absolutely fine with that. Not happy because we didn't win it, but the league never lies. The table doesn't lie. Everything outside of that, I would have certain issues with, and I think that's fair enough. I think they're a cup side, Joe. And I think Tuchel's learned an awful lot about this side. I've said this a couple of times already. I think he's learned an awful lot about this side. I don't think winning the Champions League does him any favours. Right? It's a brilliant thing to win. Don't get me wrong. It's brilliant for Chelsea to win the European Cup. But I think, if you'd have offered him the Champions League this season, I think he'd have taken it rather than last. Because it would have meant that he's built something over whatever amount of months last season, and then he's gone a full season and won a Champions League, and it's a real stepping stone to going for the title. Like Liverpool probably going back in 2019. I think he's learned an awful lot about his Chelsea side this year. The Lukaku stuff was just so out there when he signed. Like, it was like the complete package. I go back to that game against Arsenal early in the season when he bullies Arsenal, but they literally have, I don't know, me and you playing fucking centre half.
I think was it? I might got it. I swear it was Pablo Mari or something. We've never seen him since. I think they got
Yeah,
rid of
I
him.
think doesn't he leave?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
They
I think they
sent
go
him on
right.
loan then.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
But I do remember like people saying about Lukaku, and no, he did an interview saying, "If I pin you, it's game over." And he did that in the Arsenal game. Like he just pinned Mari, bam, goals, and I thought, like you said, oh, this guy's different gravy. And then he just fell off a cliff, really, and he was rubbish, right? Because I remember before the Chelsea Liverpool game thinking, or speaking about Lukaku, actually saying the only person that can stop this guy is Van Dijk. Really, in terms of matching him physically and stuff, and then he was just rubbish, weren't he? You know.
And you know what? I think Tuchel was willing to pin his hopes on Lukaku, but I think he faded very quickly. And then, of course, all the stuff comes out about how he loves Inter Milan and he's making public apologies to everyone at Chelsea Football Club. But when you look at, and then you look at like the centre, then you look at Azpilicueta, is he signing a new deal? Now I think he has, right? They've activated something in his contract. But you look at Rudiger, Christensen. Rudiger's obviously, I think he's going to Real Madrid, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that's done. Christensen's being linked with Barcelona. I don't think he's signed a deal. There's a couple more. I think.
Well, he refused to play in the FA Cup final, didn't he?
Who?
Christensen.
Did he?
Because of his move.
Oh, really?
An FA Cup final, and that guy said, "I don't want to play it through fear of injury." I swear that's true. Someone let me know in the chat.
Well,
I think he refused to play in an FA Cup final through fear of messing up his move. I don't know if Alonso might be on his way as well.
I think Alonso's out of contract as well, and you know, he kind of has a. That's why I go back to the Champions League. He has this kind of a rebuild on his plate with that pressure of you've been European champions. The expectancy goes up and stays up until you win another trophy, and I think that's where Tuchel not struggle, but I think it's kind of going to hamper him a little bit. But then you've all the financial stuff, like, you know, and when you look at it in the cold light of day, right? Chelsea, in order to operate, have ran up a bill with Roman Abramovich of £1.6 billion. Okay, now Roman Abramovich is at that club 20 years, right? But nigh on 20 years, and you know what I mean. It's literally, he's literally giving them 80 million quid a year just to run the place. Do you know the sort of way when you break it down? And now there'll be new owners coming in, and the talk is that they'll run it like a bit like FSG did with Liverpool. So that'll mean that what you generate is what you spend. What do you see for them? Do you see them actually coming in trying to make a splash next season again and going big at the start and then trying to work it out? Or I think they might be caught in a bit of a difficult spot, Joe. That's what I think for next season.
Yeah, I think they have such an aging squad as well, right? Like you've mentioned, that even the midfield, Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing for Chelsea is, and I'm still, they have emerging talent, right? Like, I really rate Conor Gallagher, massive fan of his.
Yeah,
whether or not he'll stay there, I don't know. I really like Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I think he's very, very underrated. When he plays well, he's decent. Whether or not he's Chelsea Champions League, I'm not sure. Will Armando Broja get game time? I don't know. What it is Chelsea have just like an abundance of. They buy all the best young talent from across the globe, don't they? But I do think, like you say, they have. It seems like there needs to be a massive overhaul. And when you consider, like when Lampard first got in, they were bringing in Ziyech and Havertz, and I've seen people talking about this guy being a future Ballon d'Or winner and stuff. And I'm like, well, not from what I've seen, you know. And Werner, for example, you know, it looks to me like all that money that they did spend, they're going to have to move some of them on and go again. And I don't know whether or not these owners have that money.
Ziyech is being linked with United because of the Ten Hag stuff. Along with your man at Barcelona, Frankie de Jong, and somebody else, De Ligt, I think, is being linked, because you're going to get all that towards United.
Yeah.
But with Chelsea, I think I felt a bit sorry for Havertz. Werner just hasn't worked.
No, he hasn't.
He just hasn't worked, and I think you probably will need to move him on. But I think I felt a bit sorry for Havertz, because Havertz to me is a sort of a 10. You know, he's a 10, or he can play off either side, but he kind of floats, and he's athletic, he's strong, he's quick, he's good in the air, he's a good finisher, he's a really good footballer overall. He's a fantastic talent. But he ends up having to go up front because Werner just can't hit a barn door. And Lukaku, I think I think he ends up with COVID, injuries, then he falls out of favour. So Havertz nearly becomes the de facto number 9 for Chelsea, and I feel a bit sorry for him in that sense. But midfield wise, sometimes it can look a bit stale for me, and you might need to put some trust in Conor Gallagher. Chilwell, of course, will be back next season. He's a good player.
He was a massive loss as well.
Yeah, and you have James on the other side, who's a fantastic player as well.
Yeah.
That goalkeeper is really good.
But who plays at centre back for them next year? Because I mean, Thiago Silva's like so
36,
old,
37. Yeah, they're gonna have. You're probably looking at 4 or 5 signings they need, and they will be linked with loads of players regardless of what's going on with this ownership. But it'll be interesting to see with them. They finished third. Spurs finished fourth. And I have to hand it to Antonio Conte, I'm being honest, because I thought Spurs were a bit of a mess. I think they were massively affected by the Harry Kane stuff last summer. Nuno Espirito Santo just wasn't the right man for that job. Although he does bring in the 5-3-2 system that Antonio Conte ends up, that's his thing, and they go on and get fourth. They bring in Bentancur, who's been really good. He's been really good for Højbjerg, in my opinion. You look at Son, who I'll say I think he's the most underrated footballer probably in world football at the minute. Kane gets back on goal scoring form. Kulusevski's been really good since he came in, and they've an option to buy on him, which I'm more or less they'll take up unless somebody comes in and matches the bid and tries to tempt him away. Do we need to give big credit to Spurs here, or is it tempered a little bit by the fact of what was around them? Because I think what's around them helps them massively as well.
In terms of the other clubs, you mean?
Yeah.
Because
he does average 2 points a game when he comes in, and that usually gets you Champions League.
I did for a long period of time think Arsenal were going to get it. I thought they were out of contention. So I mean, Conte did what Conte does. I think I've seen today all over social media that apparently they're going to spend big. They're going to back him.
There's been talk that they're going to add. They're going to invest 150 million in on and off the field stuff. So that could be anything. The sort of way.
And you've got to back him, haven't you? Especially when I think if they don't get top 4, maybe Conte does move on. Maybe that talk of that PSG link.
I think that. Stuff. Well, that's what I think. That's why I think this news is coming out, because you see Antonio Conte during the season, like he's nearly walking out of the club. And there's murmurs that he won't be backed and stuff like that. And I think this might be something where they're trying to go to him. Look, we will back you. Stay with us, and they've appreciated his value as the season's gone on. And that PSG stuff is still hanging around because Pochettino won't be there. You could end up, and I think Conte would actually go to PSG if they approached him, and PSG can get him out because they can pay the money. But would you like to see him stay there and try progress that club? Because he's not a man that does that. 2-3 years gone.
I'd like to see him stay in the Premier, just because he's one of the best coaches in the world, and one of the best managers. So he's up there. So of course I'd like to see him. And listen, I don't hold no ill feeling towards Spurs. I love Son. I like Kane. I like Kulusevski. Like you say, Bentancur's been a good signing as well. It's just that back line. Apart from Romero, the rest of it's pretty damn poor, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see what Spurs actually do at the back. They could probably do with a new keeper as well. I'm not
a huge fan of him.
Nah, same. I think he's been on the decline for a while. So it'd be interesting to see where they spend the cash, because they do have the makings there. And look, it will be much more difficult next year, because I know we'll talk about Arsenal, but I think Arsenal will improve in terms of scoring goals, because they're going to go get some strikers that know where the back of the net is. Man United, you assume, would improve. I'm not saying they'll get top 4, but they will improve. Then you've got the likes. I mean, Newcastle. Why not? Villa could push again. Leicester might come again. West Ham, depending. It's going to be a lot more difficult. You're right. So that top 4 race, I think City, Liverpool, Chelsea's locked in, but that 4th spot is genuinely up for grabs. But Spurs, by getting Champions League, have put themselves in a great position, aren't they?
Yeah, and when you get to 2024, it can go to 5 spots.
Okay.
Because of the legacy stuff. So basically, You know, basically the Champions League have mirrored what the Super League was going to be. So
Okay.
in the Champions League, you will have 4 spots, and then I think 2 countries or so many countries will get a 5th spot because of performance over the last couple of seasons. Liverpool are in the final. You know, City have been in final. Chelsea have been in final. You know what I mean? And there's loads of English teams in finals that they probably are the top ranked league in Europe right now, so they would be guaranteed a legacy spot. So you could end up getting 5 teams into it. With Spurs, Enoch has injected 150 million, says Ante O'Chill, into Spurs for Conte to spend. You know, but what does 150 million get you nowadays? Because now, don't get me wrong. If you said to me, Liverpool Klopp was given 150 million, I would expect probably 4 players out of that. You know, but what do Spurs do? I think Spurs could actually go and get 3 or 4 players out of that, because I think they don't need to go to the top players and look for it. They should be looking in and going, right, do we need a left wing back? Which I think they might do. I like Sessegnon. The other guy, Reguilon, is, I feel he's more of a fullback than a wing back, so we might go something like that. Perisic is
Emerson Royale at right wing back as well.
they could do something there. They might, and very hard to buy a striker at Spurs because Harry Kane will want to play every game. But it's 5 subs next season, and squads are going to have to get bigger. Spurs have to go and compete now in the Champions League, which means they will need a bigger, more quality squad. So they're probably, while that 150 million looks impressive, it'll probably be something that only keeps them on par where they are, because you bring 2 or 3 more in, you're going, great, yeah, because you've Champions League now. You've much more pressure games. So, you know, but in fairness, they're putting the money up there. That's great. And Spurs badly needed it because of the money they lost through COVID. Because not only because COVID and it affected all the Premier League, but that new stadium was built literally as COVID arrived. And they had so many plans to have so many events in there that would make them a lot of money. And, you know, they were probably most affected, I think, in the league. So for them to be coming out with that sort of money, shows a bit of ambition. Shows that they want to put a squad in place that can compete, because there's no point being in the Champions League, Joe, if you're going to end up 6th. No. You know what I mean? You're only you know, going to have your nose to spite your face, really. And you know, they're gonna do that. And on the other hand, it's shown Conte that they want to be backed, and I think it's an early shot across the bows of Conte going, right, well look, there's 150 million, you know, and he'll probably end up getting 120 million of that plus sales. To go and do what he can. So we'd have to wait and see, but I still have this little bit of feeling in me that if PSG come knocking, I think Conte might be very, very tempted.
You know, just on thing as well, just because he gets absolutely battered, and listen, he's not my chairman, so that, but your man Daniel Levy, like, there are periods in time that guy's played a blinder, Modric, Bale, and he's done it with Kane by him refusing to sell last summer. Like, Kane's never leaving Spurs now. Like, the only place I see Kane ever going, and I've said it before, and it won't happen now, but I always said if Ferguson was still at Man United, he'd have been a Man United player years ago. Yeah. He'd have already signed him. He'd have been done, right? And that was always, I've always said that. But now I think that Man United are too far off it. City have got Haaland. Kane's done now. Kane's at Spurs for the rest of his life.
I think Liverpool could have a look at him if the money was right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think with the players that we have that are out of contract next year, and I know he's 28 or 29, I get that, and the money's probably too much, but I think he probably suits Liverpool out of them all. The way he's actually developed his game, and I'm not a fan of Harry Kane because he spends most of the time trying to injure other players with this whole, you know, standing still while people are jumping for ball. But the thing is, the way he plays and the way he's developed his game, and I have to give Mourinho massive credit for this, because when Mourinho comes in, he makes him drop off, get the ball, you're a good footballer, you can pass, you have an eye for a pass, you have vision. And he's developed that game, and you know what, he's found a mix now where he's doing that, but he's also getting in the box, because while he was developing that part of his game, goals probably went away a little bit. Threat from Harry Kane probably went away a little bit. But now, I think he's starting to find that right mix. And when you have Son that's just willing, running all the time, Kulusevski's the same. Now, there's loads of Liverpool fans in the chat there going, no way, not a chance. Harry Kane would score bundles of goals for Liverpool, and I mean bundles of them. But I don't think the money would be right, but I kind of err with you. I think he's done now with that Spurs and that's him, you know.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
look, we wait and see. Arsenal. I'm going to go Arsenal United, and then what we'll do is we'll drop down the division and we might work our way back up a little bit. Arsenal shit themselves, Joe. And I've seen quotes from Mikel Arteta today saying we're all going on holiday now. In a week's time, we look back and we realise that we've achieved more than we probably expected. I would be disgusted if my manager came out and said that.
Yeah. See, I like Mikel. I remember we've had this discussion before. I think one of the first shows that came on, we had Lee Gunner on, and we know how Lee Gunner feels about Mikel Arteta. I think he was calling him the Tapas Pulis back then.
Yeah, that was his name at the time, yeah.
Really gets a little bit of unfair stick. I think he's progressed. I think he's taken Arsenal forward. I think the thing is with Arsenal, and like you've mentioned about football being cyclical, they don't have a divine right to be there anymore. So for me, and I know like Arsenal fans, if they're watching this, like who's this idiot Leeds or whatever, but it's fact. Arsenal don't have a divine right to be there anymore. They missed out, by 2 points or whatever it was. I know people call them bottle jobs and all that sort of stuff, and I hear that. But what we have to remember is they have such a young squad. I rate quite a lot of them young players within that squad. I think he gets a lot of unfair stick for the Aubameyang thing because Aubameyang went on to score goals. Aubameyang was done at Arsenal. He was a bad apple.
Yeah, I respected Arteta for what he done with him.
Yeah, same. I think it was the right decision. It's okay with hindsight to say, yeah, but he went and scored goals and you weren't scoring goals, etc. Yeah, fair enough, but he wasn't doing that at Arsenal when he was there. Maybe it's my love for Ben White though as well that clouds my judgment a little bit. Because I think I don't know. I think they'll do all right. Emile Smith Rowe, I really really like Odegaard. I think what they paid for him, it's a snip.
They found the right spot for him in the team.
Yeah. And if they get two decent, if they get Gabriel Jesus and another, because I think Nketiah and Lacazette both leave. Mm-hmm. There's 2 spots there. Maybe Jesus is one. I don't know who the other one looks like. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets mentioned a lot. I don't know if that'll happen. But if they get 2 strikers that know where the back of the net is, then why not?
Yeah, but you see, I get the whole stuff about them being a young squad. Yeah. I think Ramsdale, or Harry Ramsden as we call him on this channel, is overhyped a little bit. All right, but he's done well for Arsenal. I think he's actually he's a bit of camaraderie about him, although it can be over the top a little bit at times. I think it's kind of it's gone down well with Arsenal, and overall he's had a decent season, right? I think Tierney's been unlucky with injuries, but that's been there while he was at Celtic. That's not a new thing with him, but he's a really good fullback. I think Ben White is a good centre-back, but I don't think he's a leader as a centre-back. I think Gabriel is good as well, right? But they probably need to say to them, they probably need to go and get a really good centre-back and say, right, we're picking this guy and one of Ben White and Gabriel, right? Someone really, really strong.
They have that Saliba that they always go on about, who's doing well.
Yeah, but he's been out on loan, and to be honest with you, he's had terrible family issues, and that's why he's probably been back in France for 2 years. But the talk is now that he wants Champions League, and he could be looking to get out of Arsenal, whereas they're looking to bring him back in. But he's still young as well. He's done 2 years. I think he's done Marseille. I think he was at. But when you look in midfield, like Partey hasn't pulled up any trees for me. Xhaka is a waste of fucking time, and I don't care what anybody says. He's a waste of time.
Who's this?
Xhaka.
Oh yeah, man. What?
Waste of time. Waste of
Gav,
time.
can you imagine, right, as a staunch fan, right? Can you imagine accepting a player still at your football club after what he did? Like when he's throwing the shirts and he's flipping. Genuinely, I can say hand on heart as a season ticker at Ellen Road, if my captain did that, genuinely, he would never play for that football club again. It wouldn't be stood for. I'm not even joking. But
that's the mentality that has embedded in Arsenal. And I suppose you have to, as much as I'm not a fan of Arteta, you probably have to give him a bit of leeway where he's trying to get this out. But he's a waste of time. Odegaard, I think they find a great position for him. I think he's a really good footballer, and he's not that winger that everyone thought he was going to be. He loves floating and being in midfield. Emile Smith-Rowe was brilliant start of the season. He didn't fall off a cliff, but he regressed a little bit. But that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Curtis Jones at Liverpool. It's allowed. They're young. Saka and Martinelli, I think, are great, and I think you're right. I think they need two forwards, but I think they might struggle to hold on to Saka and Martinelli. That's the problem when you don't qualify. But at the end of the day, Joe, they're ahead of Spurs. They've games in hand. They're actually eyeing up Chelsea, saying if we win our games in hand, they could be a point behind Chelsea, and they manage to fuck her up. And if you're going to go on the young squad thing, you have to look at the manager and you have to say, you have to be tougher. Like Granit Xhaka coming out after that Newcastle defeat going, oh, we didn't have the balls. We didn't. There's no point in you saying that at full time at Newcastle. That's just you trying to plumaz people. Don't do it. You should be absolutely rattling into players before it. They should have come out like men on missions, and they didn't. And I said it. Whoever I suppose didn't make that top four, I thought would struggle, and I actually see that with Arsenal now. I think they'll struggle to attract. I think teams around them will get better.
There's the extra game as well, isn't there? Someone mentioned it in the chat.
Improve more, and they're going to be in Thursday night football. Yeah. It just at the stage they're at, I think they might struggle, Joe, next season.
No, I could see that, especially with the extra games, and you could see a fall off. You know, they might not get close to top four. They'll still be in that top seven. And look, I think now, as much as I like Arteta, and I think he's had an unfair shake, next season it's do or die time for him. Like, surely, if they were to get towards the end of the season and he hadn't progressed or at least got close to top four, or even get top four, I think there'll be a lot of Arsenal fans saying that this game. A lot of them are already, but I think even the board might look at it at that point and say, we tried. We tried to go with a project and see it through. But I think he has to do something next season.
Let's go down the bottom. Watford, Norwich go down. I wasn't surprised by either of them. Norwich just do what they do. Watford, mad club. Like, come up, spend money, give a fella about 7 games, sack him, give another fella about 10, sack him, bring in Roy Hodgson. Because, like, genuinely, Roy Hodgson couldn't have been the only man around that could take that job with 15 or 16, whatever games left it was, right? They do that. So that's fine. You expect that. Burnley have gone down, and, you know, I was, like, a lot of Liverpool fans were on board with the whole Everton thing, but, you know, it's been coming for Burnley, hasn't it?
Yeah. And as much as they got a new manager bounce, I think Dyche knew what he was doing, didn't they? It had obviously something had gone really sour though, because, like, what I will say, I watched a lot of Burnley in the running, obviously, because we were up against them, and Mike Jackson did, like, Dwight McNeil looked like a new player. Cornet, they were playing a little bit more expansive. I think that the Chris Wood Wout Weghorst trade-off didn't work. Like, maybe they'd have had a much better chance had Chris Wood stayed. Obviously, I know they couldn't do anything about that. But when they brought Weghorst in, I was like, do you know what? They could have ended up with a better deal than what Newcastle have got. But obviously, it didn't work out at all. He missed a sitter as well at the weekend to make would it have been 2-2 at that point? I think potentially if they'd have scored, which might have done stuff at Brentford and meant we might have like started to shit the bed a little bit. But he missed a sitter, and that's not really worked. And listen, if you what's it? I mean, if you sit in a barber's long enough, you're going to get your hair cut, are you? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what's happened with Burnley, and I think their owners, I don't think it's all good, and I think they might be in a bit of trouble now, Burnley, in terms of coming back up. I think it's all loans and stuff, I think.
Yeah, they were excuse me. I seen some stats the other day about where Burnley stood at the start of the season or so long ago, and financially, and where they are, and now where they sit now with the likes of downgrading training facilities and the money has gone from like half decent to a being a bit in trouble. You know something? I kind of look at it and I think to myself, what value do they bring to a league? When I'm looking at who could go down, I think Leeds bring great value to the league, and I'm not saying that because you're here, because you know, if I thought Leeds were shy, I'd tell you.
Yeah.
You know, as much as the Everton thing was fun, you know, a lot of people would miss the derby. Although I've honestly tell you, if you're sitting here today and Everton had gone down, I wouldn't give two shits if they'd gone down. But Burnley, for me, I don't think you feel a loss. You know, you'd feel a loss of Everton. You'd feel a loss of Leeds. But I don't think you feel a loss. And I think getting rid of Dyche, I think there was behind the scenes problems there from the start of the season anyway. But look, they're gone now. They may struggle because of where they are a little bit financially. Are they the most attractive team in the world to go to? No. But then again, we could all be sitting here in 12 months' time going, oh, Burnley are back up. You know, a bit like Norwich have done. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk Leeds, though. All right. And I'll tell you what I think, and then you can tell me if I'm, or you most likely will tell me I'm completely wrong. I think they were naive with the squad they went into the season with. All right. And I'm only saying that because they outran everybody last season. And at times they were brilliant to watch, and they were a breath of fresh air as how attacking they were and how lively they were, and they pressed. And sometimes you looked at them, they're mental. You know, they're literally coming out and they're going to Old Trafford and just being that open, and they're 4-0 down after 15 minutes or something, right? A bit mad, but entertaining at the same time. We talked earlier about second and third season and stuff like that. Teams work you out. Especially when you're a team that come out, teams work you out. Sheffield United were a breath of fresh air, and they were a bit different, and they were talking about overlapping fucking centre backs and stuff. And then people just went, oh, that's what they do. Grant, this is what we do. We're better than them, and we'll destroy them. And that's what happens. I think Leeds were a bit worked out, and I think they were a bit jaded, and I don't think they were refreshed enough. Right. Having said that, I think they were very unlucky with injuries. I think Bamford was a massive loss. Cooper was missing for a good length of the season. They were getting injuries all over the place, right?
Yeah.
The COVID stuff, I think, went the wrong way for them because they were injuries they were getting. It wasn't COVID with Leeds, and they were getting absolutely hammered with injuries. And while others were claiming COVID and couldn't play, I didn't like the fact Liverpool didn't play them on the Boxing Day, Stevens' Day. I didn't like that. Because I was of the opinion, if you can get players out, just put them out. If you have to go into 23s and go and get them, I was all for that. But Leeds ended up having to play a lot of teams that were allowed to come back with a bit more strength, and Leeds were absolutely banged to rights with regards to injuries. Bielsa, I was surprised he let him go. I know you absolutely adore Bielsa. Key to this channel absolutely adores Bielsa. You know, but as much as you think a change is good, I just think the amount of effort they put in was catching up with them, regardless of who they had, because I don't think Leeds' form was brilliant under Jesse Marsh, and I'm not a huge fan of him, right? I don't know. I think maybe that change in who's there maybe just rejuvenates them a little bit, but I think they get a bit lucky because of Burnley to stay up. I think that's a fair thing to say. But they do stay up. They manage to stay up because Burnley just can't put the results together. Leeds manage a couple towards the back end of the season. Great, you scrap for everything. The one thing. So overall, I think a bit naive, a bit unlucky, and a hard call on the manager, right? But going into next season for me, Joe, that manager needs to come in and he needs to say, listen, he's a really good player, but he's literally ran the legs off himself for 4 years now, and he hasn't got it in him. As much as people like him, he has not got it in him, and he'll have to be trusted in the market. He'll have to get it right, because there'll be a lot of focus on Leeds and who they sign, because he's still the man that follows on Bielsa, who's possibly the biggest. Like I spoke about Klopp being the biggest influence over Liverpool in 40 odd years. I think Bielsa's probably one of the biggest over Leeds in most certainly 20, 25 years, 30 years possibly. So they'll have to back him. He'll have to get it right, and I think they just need a refresh, and they need to know their limits, Joe. They need to know when they go to Anfield or Old Trafford or the Emirates or the Etihad or the Spurs Stadium, that it's okay to sit in. It's okay to sit in and be absolute dogs for 90 minutes, because it will keep you in the league. And I'm overall, Joe, I'm delighted he stayed in the league because
Yeah.
we've spoken before. I'm not a fan of Leeds. I'm not a fan of anyone else, bar Liverpool, really.
Yeah.
But when I go back to what Burnley are and that loss, I think I would have felt the loss of Leeds a bit more because they should be in the Premier League.
Yeah, mate. There's not a lot. There's not a lot to disagree with you with. To be honest, you'll be surprised. I think when my deity, when my god Bielsa left, the rose tinted glasses certainly came off, and I can see it, a lot of it for what it is. In terms of what we got wrong, you bang on. The squad just wasn't added to. The recruitment when we did make signings was abysmal. I think Dan James, 25 million. No, I can see it now. I was so, I guess, carried away with that signing because there was a little bit of history and Bielsa's always wanted him and Bielsa was going to turn him into something. He'd been working under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, was a fool, the PE teacher, watch what Bielsa does. And Dan James is still the same player. He has no final ball and no end product and just runs. His legs are too fast for his brain. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit frustrating to watch. So we'll see what happens there. Apparently, Atalanta are interested in Dan James, I'm hearing. So if they want to pay 25 million, I'll gladly say, yeah, I'll accept that. Look, I don't believe we should have sacked Bielsa. People tell me I need to go and have therapy and that I get battered on my own channel from Leeds fans because do you know what I got told the other day? What I got called the other day? A Bielsa sexual.
Wow, new word.
I know, right?
That'll be in the dictionary within the next 12 to 18 months.
Like, do you know what though, Gav? He had such a profound effect on me.
Yeah.
And I think he did for a lot of people. But you know what the internet's like. You know what social media's like, and sometimes he gets disrespected. Anyway, Jesse Marsch comes in. His remit was to keep us in the division. He did that. Mm-hmm. Do I like what I'm seeing? No. Am I his biggest fan? No. Do I think he can take us forward? The jury's still out. The jury's massively still out. But he did what he set out to do. I think the football, I mean, he plays so narrow, Gav. It's unbelievable. Like, it was difficult to watch, you know. We did sit in against Arsenal, against Chelsea. We were still getting battered. We sat in against City. We still got battered. Your best player is a right winger in Rafinha, and you're playing him at right wing back. What's going on? I couldn't get my head around it. I was banging my head against a wall thinking, why are we doing this? Then in the last two games, he went back to playing wide. It was like he'd said, because the best game under Jesse Marsch, right, was the first game against Leicester. He came in, he'd only been with them a couple of days. Basically, he said, right, stop man marking, let's zonal mark, right, but still do what you do going forward. Yes, we lost that game 1-0. But we played well. The further we got away from that game, the worse we became. You know, in terms of watching it. And I guess I turned into a little bit of a snob because, like, the football that I did see under Bielsa, yes, we took our pastings, but the football was immense. Like, I don't think I'll see better football from my football team for the rest of my life. I genuinely don't. So when it was on it, and, you know, people only know the Prem stuff. We had 2 years in the Championship of just pure liquid football. It was unbelievable. But Marsch comes in. He plays so narrow. Anyway, the last two games, which basically save us in terms of getting a late point against Brighton and winning away at Brentford, which we hadn't done since 1950. We played with width. Guess what? We won the game. Like, it nearly cost us because the mad thing is, Joffrey Gelhardt gets injured and then he goes, right, I'm going to go 5 at the back. We were 1-0 up at the time. Burnley were losing 2-1. I was like, what are you doing? Why have you gone with 5 at the back? You're just inviting it on. Sergio Canos gets a header, makes it 1-0, gets himself sent off. They then go down to 9 men. They dominated us for a period of time for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm watching the game going, they've got 9 men. Like, why have you done this? So, look, I'm not his biggest fan. I am not. But it's all now about recruitment. We have to get it right. He has to bring his players in. We're signing Brendan Aronson, who's at RB Salzburg, 24 million. I think he'll be a good acquisition.
Linked with Minamino from Liverpool.
So we were linked with Minamino in January, and I think that was genuinely with a view to Marsch coming in, because Marsch was already coming in the summer regardless. This was Bielsa's last season. So Minamino... Rafinha's going. Rafinha's going to Barcelona. We've already rejected a bid there. I think because we've stayed up, we can now. We're in the driving seat. Yeah, if you want Rafinha, you're gonna have to pay for him. Calvin potentially going to City. I always believe Calvin will give us an extra year. There's a report will come out tonight to say Calvin does want to sign a new deal. However, there's a lot of conflicting reports. I think he could go to City. But what we need to ensure is if he does and when Rafinha's sold, we need to recruit right. Because if I'm being honest, it's not been right. Rodrigo, record signing, rubbish. If someone came out driving there, Gav, I would. He's been really, really bad. Yeah. Dan James, 25 million. Not good enough. Junior Firpo from Barcelona, 18 million, whatever it was. One of the worst left backs I've ever seen, genuinely. So the recruitment's been bad. For every Rafinha, Meslier we've managed to do, and Mellier's not had a great season, I will say that, there has been some really poor signings as well. So we need to ensure that the signings are correct. Brendan Aronson's been linked. We've been linked with Calvin Ramsey, the right back from Aberdeen, who Liverpool are chasing as well, I think. So my hope is he looks at Liverpool and says they've got Trent. Gomez has been playing there. Will I get game time? Hopefully he comes to Leeds because Luke Aylin's in the arse end of his career. So if he can come in maybe. And then we've been linked with Tyler Adams as well. And then an unnamed Premier League striker. Could that be Minamino? Could it be Eddie Nketiah with him leaving Arsenal? Could it be Brozier on loan? There's loads of names out there. Iheanacho potentially. But apparently we have contacted an unnamed Premier League striker back up for Bamford. We need it. You know what I mean? So just has to get it right.
Yeah, he does. And everyone has to get it right in the summer. But I think with Leeds, it's a new manager. It's now, like we said earlier, it's at a stage where they want to push on, but they also need to refresh because you have a lot of tired legs in there. The likes of like Luke Ayling just never fucking stops running, and it does catch up with you. It catches 100%. Up with you, and you see people's legs going, you know, the sort of way. But looking, I'm always intrigued by a couple of teams when I go into seasons. Arsenal are always one of them, just because of the age I am and when I start watching football and where Arsenal were when I start watching football. Arsenal always won. I think Leeds might be one next season, and I think Brentford will be one because I think I have to give a mention to Brentford because they come up and I think they've been great. I think they were middle part of the season they looked like they were falling like a stone, and people were going, look at them falling, and you thought they were going to get really into a bad rut, and they got themselves over. Christian Eriksen's been absolutely massive for them. What a man and what a footballer he is. I'm like, just to come back from where he came back from and to be brilliant for Brentford and to be that man where if Brentford and they were brave in what they were doing, instead of just looking for Tony up front, they were getting it to this fella and he's being the link, and it is braver than to hit channels to give this guy football and to give him a contract and to believe in him. And I actually hope, I'd love him at Liverpool. I've said it numerous occasions. I think he's a fantastic footballer, but I hope, even as a Liverpool fan that would like him, I hope he stays at Brentford. I hope he signs a deal at Brentford, because I think, you know what, fair play to him for coming back. It would be easy to.
He might go back to Spurs with Conte.
He could, but I'd really like him to stay at Brentford, because I think him getting back and Brentford having the balls to come out and go, we'll give you a deal. Yeah, come on and play with us. Because loads of clubs would have been offered to him and turned him down. Let's not make no bones about it. Brentford weren't the only one that were offered him, but they had the balls to go and do it, so I'd really like it. Thor says, don't let Joe off the hook. What about these letters to the Premier League? Well, I want to talk about Everton. You know, Everton started the season with Rafa Benitez in charge. They have first four games, they have 10 points. They end up on the season with 39, I think. So they take 29 points from the last 34 games or something along them lines, right? Appalling for me, from top to bottom. As much as Leeds were bad this season, I thought Leeds, you know, you could see they were in it together. They knew where they were, and they accepted that. They accepted where they were and what they had to do. Everton don't, and just kept going on and on at players. And it made me laugh last Thursday when they were carrying players on their shoulders and shit like that and calling them legends of the club, when 6 weeks earlier they were literally saying, get out, we want nothing to do with you. Everton, Lampard's in charge. Lampard takes them over in 16th. He ends up in 16th. There's just so much made of this fella. It's unbelievable. I'm sure you'll have it go in a minute. But for Everton, the biggest thing in the summer for me is the financial stuff. 375 million over the last 3 years in losses. They're going to post another loss, which will be close to what they've done in the recent years, which, if you took it over 4 years, would leave them around £500 million in debt over the last 4 years, which is absolutely phenomenal. They've a new stadium coming, but you can't hang your hat on that. You know, and the only thing I would say to you is, when you get a new stadium, right, even if the council are building that, paying for so much of it, go and look at Arsenal when they leave Highbury in 2006-ish or whatever, 2005, and how they struggled for years to actually keep their identity as a club, compete, bring players in. He looks at that squad, and you could say to yourself, oh, well, they finished 16th, like, no problem, get rid of them anyway because they weren't good enough. But when you look at the players that are there, are you going to be able to bring in any better with maybe the financial restrictions you're under? So I think it's going to be a mad summer for Everton. I think they're going to be asked serious questions over the finances, and I think the Premier League are going to be under pressure. Joe, how serious are Leeds and Burnley over this?
Do you know what? Like, and just on thought, it was pure for me. I think it was done on the 9th or 10th, and that was the day after we'd been spanked by Chelsea 3-0.
I think I read the 13th of May was when they sent the first letter, but then they sent a second joint letter insisting that the Premier League and Everton hold on to all emails and data regarding Everton's financial situation and correspondence between them.
I mean, it was pure because Leeds United were worried they were going down. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
like, so,
yeah, of course.
For me, it was pure sour grapes a little bit. Like, listen, I'm not saying Everton should be getting off scot-free. I think next season, get it investigated. If it is improper, then they have to start with a points deduction. That's how it works, right? That's what Derby had to do. Guess who was there before that as well? Lampard. Must be him. Maybe he's the issue. Listen, you can't be going on like that. Financial irregularities, right? And get away with it. Listen, I have nothing against Everton. Let me just say that. My only disdain was when Lampard rocked up, and I did want them to go down. You won't believe how long I had held of that video of him and Dele Alli going, "We did it. We did it," and I was thinking, I can't wait for you to go down just so I can put that back out in the ether. I don't know if you remember that when he signed Dele Alli and they had a cuddle and he was like, "We did it, Dele, we did it." I'm not Frank's biggest fan, like he says. Took him from 16th to 16th. I've read this morning that apparently they're going to get Tarkowski on some mad wages as well. I know he was. I swear, he tried to get Tarkowski at Chelsea, but he was told no. Genuinely, I remember that. Because I think that was the media when they were sticking up for him, saying, well, he didn't really get his players. A lot of them were forced on him and all that sort of stuff. The likes of Jake Humphrey and that stuck up his backside half of the time, and Matt Law and all that sort of stuff. When they won the Champions League, remember, who can forget he was getting thanked by special mention to Frank Lampard from Jake Humphrey and stuff, bearing in mind he'd left them like in 9th. You know my thoughts on Frank, mate, but. Yeah, look, I think they should be sanctioned if indeed they've been doing it improper. As for what the future holds for them, I mean, I don't know. Like, are they going to move players? They seem to have just an abundance of players now as well. Like, that backline's shocking. The backline's shocking. I mean, how old's Seamus Coleman now? Mikalenko, okay, he scored a couple of goals, but I mean, is he that great? I think Warby, although he was very good when they won that game 3-2 the other night, but I don't know. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will leave, won't he? I can't stand him.
He's been linked with Arsenal since January. The talk around him is that a deal is agreed with him to go to Arsenal. Now, I don't know how true that is. But you look at Richarlison, I think Richarlison will try to get out of Everton. Because I don't care how they survived, but he's looking at that squad and he's gone, lads, we've assumed 39, we've got 39 points from 38 games here. If he wants to be a Brazilian international and play at World Cups, can he do it at Everton? I'm not too sure. So you're probably going to get some of your bigger assets wanting to leave, which does bring money in, which, fair enough, it brings money in and you can spend on it, but Everton, from what Everton are saying, is that they've spoken closely and they've worked closely with the Premier League to show them that there's no financial irregularity with regards to the losses and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they're claiming 170 million losses out of COVID, which is fucking bizarre, right? And they're claiming X amount on the stadium. But even if you took that off, even if you said, right, we'll give you 170 million on the stadium, and we give you 100 million or 100 million on the stadium and 170 million on COVID, when your accounts come in this year, you'll still be over the fucking limit. Like, they will have to, if 376 million is correct, right? They have to find 271 million in losses that are not football related in order to get out of this. 271 million. You're only allowed to lose 105 million a year over 3 years. That's the rule. Now, they're claiming that it's this and it's that, but from what I've seen and read, I think there's more to it. And I think if Leeds, even though they stayed up, and Burnley, they've gone down, because they've questioned it and pursued it and will want an answer off the FA, i.e. Burnley get some sort of compensation. If you compensate Burnley, it means you're admitting Everton have done something wrong. And if Everton have done something wrong, I promise you, not only Leeds, loads of clubs will want to know what's going on there. And will want to know, and then you will have to look at sanctions. I think look, they're delighted they stayed up. They are delighted they stayed up. If they'd have went down, they would have been under EFL stuff, and then it could have got really messy. Yeah, but I think staying up is obviously better on both fronts, because if they're in talks with the Premier League, they can continue, and they've stayed up, so they've more money at their disposal. But I just like Barry says there, they're claiming losses on the women's team and everything else under the sun. Like, it's a bit mad. Frank Lumplard, who's Red Steve, who says the FA will look at Everton as soon as they finish their investigation into Man City, so not in our lifetimes. But I think you would have to ask questions, Joe. Yeah. Like, and then you have Usmanov, whose assets frozen. He's one of their main investors. He can't go near them. You know, the sort of way. So I think Owen reckons he could get a points deduction at the start of the season. I think there could be pressure. I think there could be big pressure on Everton. And I think it'll be, if Leeds continue to pursue this, even though they've stayed up along with Burnley, I think answers will have to come out, and quickly, because June the 10th, isn't it, where they do the formation of the league and who has licenses and stuff like that. And that's why Chelsea are under a lot of pressure as well. But look, we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot going to happen over this summer, and then we'll know ourselves when we get to the end of July and we start looking at the fixtures, and early August when we start. Just want to touch on Newcastle. You know, they look dead and buried. Eddie Howe came in. Now, in fairness, he spends somewhere between 90 and 100 million in the January window, but he spends it well. You know, he does spend it well, in fairness to him. Chris Wood is probably the one that's not a hit, but Bruno Gomes is a real hit. I think Dan Burns at the back, and Target does well. I think Target might be only on loan, but Target does well. You know, he spends well, and he gets them up to, I think, the end of about 12th or 14th. 11th, was it? But what do you see happening there, Joe? Because, look, you can walk around wherever way you want, right? This is the next in a line of clubs that are coming in and basically deciding we're not very good. We're basically going to have a sovereign state come in and just fund this to the absolute hilt because we can. And, you know, I've said it, I think in the 2 or 3 years, I think genuinely Newcastle could challenge for the title. That's just how quick it can happen. But just on them, Joe, do you see them sticking with Eddie Howe? Do you see them sticking and going, right, we'll spend another 200 in the summer, but we're going to sign 4 players for that and build and look to build? Or do you think they could just go all out? Because remember, they can spend wherever they want. They're not in Europe. It's only when you get into Europe that they go, right, you're in Europe now, right, bang, this is where you have to adjust yourself for 3 years. And even if they did get Europe next season, right, in 2025 it all changes because they've put in new rules now about financial regulations, and they've told them what the rules are going to be, and they've basically allowed clubs that are ran by these sort of people to adjust themselves. They've given them a 3-year head start where they can just throw all sorts of deals out and go, these are all the deals we've done, look at them. Yeah, I know they're only a PO box, but it doesn't matter. These are all the deals we've done, and here we go. And they're actually lining themselves up to be actually stronger come 2025 and untouchable to a certain point.
Yeah, I think I just want to say, like, Eddie Howe, I thought has done a fantastic job. Now, the period of time, like, I know obviously he spent money, but there was a time when Guimaraes wasn't starting. Trippier had got injured. I think they were playing with. I mean, what he's done with Joe Linton, for example, he's done a terrific job. And like I said, they did what they did to Burnley on the last day. I really, really love Bruno Guimaraes. I'm a little bit jealous of Newcastle, just hearing him in interviews, because I think for clubs like Newcastle and like Leeds or whatever, not so much Newcastle now, but when you bring in them stalwart players like a Rafinha, like a Guimaraes, you're always wary he's making that next step. There was a period of time, I guess, with Liverpool, like with the Coutinho thing, you were
Mm.
always worried. I think now, Liverpool, City, they're at a level where maybe they don't even worry about losing their best players to the Real Madrid, to the Barca's anymore, you know what I mean? But with Guimaraes, because of where Newcastle are going and what their trajectory is going, when he's saying, I want to be a club legend here, he probably will be. Do you know what I mean? I think he's been fantastic. And like you say, they can throw money out at Chris Wood, knowing that if it goes tits up, they'll just get rid. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? Because they're that rich now. Do you know what I
They were
mean?
the richest club in the world.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's what I mean. I think the way they are going to spend it will be interesting because they've been linked. I'll be doing a video on it tomorrow, but they've been linked heavily today to Jack Harrison. So really heavily across a number of news
Mm.
sources. So it's like, well, you know, a lot of Leeds fans are saying, "Oh, well, can command whatever because it's Newcastle." So they have to be wary of that as well. You know, there was a period of time that happened to Chelsea and stuff, and City, you end up overpaying because they know you've got the cash. Um, but yeah, so Jack Harrison's someone they're looking at. I don't know what maybe they'll go back in for Botman, for example, but I think that the fact that they made that marquee signing as quick as they did in Guimaraes, you know what I mean, especially when where they were, they're really set up to go again. Whether or not Eddie Howe will oversee it all, he seems to be the right man at the right time now, right? But I think there will come a time where they will need to go for that bigger name that'll attract, you know, that next
Yeah.
level of players. We've
Did
seen
he?
it at City, didn't we?
Did he do? That's what I'm thinking. Did he do like a superstar sign?
Mm.
You know, where you seen it with Robinho at City?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, when Chelsea take that money in, you know, they literally just go out and start signing like big players.
Mm.
Under Mourinho in the summer of 2004. So look, there's rumours of a £50 million bid for Tierney today as well, says O'Neill. And G10 says Newcastle have an ex-Brighton director now, can't think of his name, but extremely well regarded.
Stuart Webber.
Yeah, Carol
Stuart
Sullivan says
Webber.
they've got a proper football director. That's what worries me. Um, you know,
I think it might be Stuart
it's
Webber.
what I said it when I spoke about City earlier. Um, do you agree with it? Probably not. But do you just
No.
have to deal with it? You do,
Yeah.
because you know it's just the way things are. It's just that's the way football is, and you know, Shawnee on this channel has said to me on numerous occasions. He said, "I think in 2 or 3, maximum 5 years," he said, the appetite for the Premier League will just disappear. It'll actually
Because of
disappear because
from
it won't be clubs building anything to better themselves and be up there. It'll just be who can spend the most money. And it's not money that has come from what you've done in the game. It's
yeah.
money because, you know, it's just there and it can be used, you know, and it's a race to spend the most. And
Yeah.
you know, but that's the game we're in. That's the world we live in, and I think it'll be interesting to see. I will say one thing. I'll be interested to see what way Newcastle go about it, because the likes of the links to Harrison is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Whereas you know Harrison's kind of left winger, good player, but you know with Newcastle you'd probably expect him to go out and go, what's Leroy Sané doing at Bayern
Yeah,
Munich?
no,
You
I
know, something
agree.
like
Yeah,
that. You
yeah,
know, or Jesus, what's such and such doing? And you know, all right, we'll throw 80 million at him, and
yeah,
that'll be the big bang. You know, the sort of way, and
yeah.
that'll get people very used to what we're doing very quickly. But we'll have to wait and see. Any other clubs you'd like to touch on before we go, Joe?
I think West. Oh, let's do. Do you think Ten Hag's going to be a success? What do you expect to happen there?
I've kind of stayed away from United when we've been doing these reviews because absolutely meaningless at the minute. You know, and I think it's very hard to read because you look at the antics of Pogba. You know, didn't want to play against Palace because he might get abused by fucking fans. And you look at Harry Maguire, who's just a walking disaster. You look at players that were in the team and nowhere to be seen now. Rashford has just completely fell off a cliff because of side issues in really good things he's doing, by the way. I just think it's kind of affecting his life a little bit too much. Although you can't knock him for what he does for people. I don't know on Ten Hag. You know, I can see where United fans are coming from with, you know, Klopp, similarities to Klopp coming to Liverpool in 2015. And you say to yourself, you know what, he's done well at Ajax, he's done well in the league, he's done well in Europe. He's kind of overperformed a little bit for Ajax. He's coming in, he's not, you know, 40 years of age and a little bit wet behind the ears. He's 52. You know, he's very much a very matured manager. The only and the talk is that he's got rid of a few people in the club that should go. Although Darren Fletcher's still wandering around the gaff, I don't know why. You know, and he's bringing in people. People are scoffing at the whole Steve McLaren thing, but Steve McLaren knows Manchester United. I don't think he'll have a huge input, but I think he'll have an input in the way the club is, and it's a bit of familiarity for Ten Hag. It's a huge job to turn that squad, though, Joe. I don't care how much money you have. No. It's a huge job to turn, you know, Wan-Bissaka, don't want them, right? Luke Shaw, you question. Could you question Boy not fit enough? Yeah, you have to get him out. Harry Maguire.
Who in the midfield do you keep apart from Bruno Fernandes? You know,
well, you've Bruno Fernandes, you've got Fred, you've got McTominay. McTominay's decent, I think. Fred, just there too long. He probably needs to go. You'll have questions over Ronaldo because his age, he's still scoring goals, but his influence at the club. Do you want that influence there when you're trying to make this literally a new dawn for Manchester United? You've got the Rashford stuff. You've got the other guy, Greenwood, that's, you know, in an awful fucking mess he's made of himself. And you look at them and you look at Tellez and you go, is he good enough? You know, there's some youngsters coming through. You know, I think it's a huge job for them. They have got the financial power to make an impact with probably 3 or 4 signings in the summer, but that means that they all have to gel. They all have to perform. And I'm not saying that Frankie de Jong isn't a good player. I'm not saying that Matthijs de Ligt isn't a good player, or indeed Ziyech, if he's being linked at Chelsea. They're not good players. But to get them all right at the one time is hard, Joe. And, you know, again, I go back to it. The only thing that might save United is they've Arsenal around them. You don't know what way Spurs are going to react with being back in the Champions League. I'm trying to build under Conte, but they'll be solid. You know, the sort of way. West Ham, fair enough, they've been good. Newcastle might come. They might have a chance, Joe. They might surprise us all and finish fucking second or third in the league. But I think it's a huge job he has. A huge job he has on his hands. And you know what? It's huge because of the size of the club. But if it starts to go wrong in any way, and you can get as many United fans to say, oh, you need to be patient. They aren't.
No,
they're spoiled brats. That's what they are. And I say that in the nicest possible way. They are spoiled brats that want everything their way and done immediately. And look, if it goes bad in the first 6 games, you're going to hear stuff like the United way and, you know, the United this and the United that. And you're kind of going, you need to get away from that. The way Arsenal had to get away from the Arsenal way of tapping the fucking ball around 60 times for no reason. And, you know, I just think it's a huge job. Can he do it? Yeah. Has he got the potential? Yeah. Has he got the means to do it? I would say so. But look, it'll only take 3 or 4 bad games, and you'll have Neville throwing his oar in because he thinks he's fucking the leader of the Labour Party, you know. And you'll have him throwing his oar in, right, and saying this should be done. Like, this is the fella that fucking 2 months ago said the Glazers should put in 3 billion into the club and then leave. Like, come on. You'll have Rio Ferdinand writing up 6-point lists of what United should do. Like, that 9-year-old could fucking write up. You'll have all these people coming out of the woodwork again, and it's actually outside interference, I think, is being massive with United because there's so many cross wires and so many people throwing in stuff. I just think it's just it's a huge job. I think it'd be very interesting to see how he goes on, but it could go really well.
Yeah.
It could go really badly. But I don't know if Manchester United would take, say, a good run in Europe, right? I don't think United fans would take what Liverpool took. Whereas they went, we lost the Europa League and we came 8th, but we're right behind Klopp. I just don't think they would. And all the talk of patience.
Is it me or have you gone really quiet, Gav?
I am. No.
Have you gone really quiet, or is that me?
No, that's probably you. But I think that the size of the job and the outside interference and the lack of patience, I think, could hurt them. But I'm not writing them off from the job. So,
like someone said in the chat, I think the Harry Potter scarves, it's the Norwich scarves, isn't it? The Norwich scarves will be back out in no time. It's mad how, like, I mean, the way Man United fans in the summer that they had, Champions League Varane, who looks like, Europa League Conference Varane, Ronaldo coming in, and a lot of people said he was the problem, but to be fair to him, he scored a lot of goals for them. Without him, they'd be a lot worse off. But all these signings that they made, and they were all there getting it, going to the club shop, buying all the shirts and that. And then when they started losing games, they all got the green and gold out, the Norwich scarves again. They brought in Ralph Rangnick, and people were talking about how he taught Klopp and he taught Tuchel and stuff. I'm taking all this in, thinking, all this tripe that you were saying about Bielsa, about, he taught, he did this, he did that. I was like, you're doing it now for Rangnick. The difference was Ralph Rangnick ain't got a Scooby-Doo. In terms of managing a football team, you might know how to build one up structurally and all that, and acquisitions and all that, but in terms of being on that training pitch, obviously went tits up on it. It's been nice to watch it, like, unfold from the outside in, like, or the inside out, sorry, and these players, like, just falling to bits. It's been good, but I think I'm interested to see how Villa and Wolves, not Wolves, Villa and West Ham get on. I think I like Gerrard. I said I'd like him at Leeds. I got a bit of stick for it. He came in, he did all right. Then they sort of fell off. But I think with another, like you said, they've just signed that Sanson fella, haven't? Not Sanson, Kamara. Sorry, they've made a good signing there, and I'm interested to see how they get on, and West Ham as well. Just with what they spend, and see what they do. Yeah.
Wolves always interest me. They actually do, because you're like, I think what Portuguese are arriving this year. And do
you think Thingy will go this year? Neves. I think he'll go this time.
Yeah, and I think Neto's being looked at in a big way. It's an interesting one. I think it's an interesting one, and you know what? West Ham, have they hit their peak? Because I think they might be peaked off a little bit here. I think Rice, you have Bowen. Although as much as they like to I suppose keep them, clubs come knocking. I think if United came knocking for Rice, I think he'd want to go. Chelsea, I think if they came knocking, he'd definitely go. He's best mate.
Do Liverpool still hold an interest in Jarrett? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think the talk was he was on a list, wasn't he? And people made an awful lot. People made an awful lot of that he was on that list, and he was, are they signing Jarrett Bowen? Why aren't they signing Jarrett Bowen? He's highly rated. I think his stats are really good, and I don't know. Maybe West Ham come out and show a bit of ambition again in the summer, and Jarrett Bowen and Declan Rice go, no, do you know what? We done well in the Europa League. We finished okay in the league. I think they're back in that conference now, aren't they? They'll be back in that, but let's have another go. But they might get picked off a little bit for me, just a little bit. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Before we go, I just want to throw this up on the screen for people. Let me see. So this is Joe. You're doing this, you lunatic.
Yes.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's 10 years since Gary Speed tragically took his life. So, what we're doing, a group of Leeds fans are getting together and walking from his hometown in Wales, in North Wales, all the way back to Elland Road over 4 days, so 3 nights. It's 92 mile. We're setting off on Thursday morning at 5:30 from Elland Road, getting the minibus down to Wales, and then setting straight off. We've got like 3 stopping points, staying in travel lodges and whatnot. But yeah, so 92 miles over 4 days in aid of Andy's Man's Club and the Samaritans, just for men's mental health, really, and just, saying that it's okay to talk if you're not feeling okay and stuff. So I think it's for a great cause. It's for a great legend of the Premier League. And yeah, if you can support me, like I said, the links there, the links on my channel as well. If you head over to the Just Joe Football Show, yeah. So please, if you can, I mean, we've smashed the thing, but every little helps. So if you can support, then please do. And as I say, I'm going to be battered. Like 92 miles. No, it's no walk in the park, is it? So I've
But
been out
weren't you
today.
climbing mountains and all a while back?
Yeah, I've done I've done like the free peaks and whatnot. But I do love this sort of stuff, mate. I like being out there, but it's still, I mean, 92 miles are quite a new one for me. So I
Yeah.
might, I'll be done in.
What's that? That's 3.5 marathons in around that. 26 miles in a marathon.
13. Yeah, it will be, won't it? Yeah,
78, 88. Yeah, so it's over 3.5 marathons. So anyway, look, it's up on screen there. And for people
man,
listening
cheers.
on the podcast later, if you go to the GoFundMe page, if you go into GoFundMe and just type in Gary Speed Charity Walk, and you'll see Andy's Man Club in brackets beside that. And they have gone past their total, but look, that's just the total people put on at the start. So go and check it out. It's 100 Leeds fans that walking 92 miles from Gary's first football pitch in North Wales to the one where he lifted the championship trophy in 1992. Ellen Road, yeah. Along the way, they'll be visiting glamorous locations such as Warrington, Oldham, and Huddersfield, and passing by the doorstep of Old Trafford. I really like that. I really, really like that. But look, it's a really good cause. And it's one close to Joe and Leeds and stuff like that. And you know us, we like supporting charities as much as we possibly can. So go and check it out if you can. Before I leave, I have to talk about our charity partner, which is Féileacáin. Féileacáin is a charity that helps parents that have lost children during pregnancy and soon after birth. We're trying to raise €10,000 for them, which will help them for years. Trust me. If you don't believe me, the link is in the description to check out their website. And their website will let you know all about them, how they're voluntary, how they help parents and bereaved parents through, I'm not going to pretend I know, but what must be one of the toughest times in anyone's life. The link is also in there to donate. If you want to donate, walk away. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. Send it amongst your friends, your family, your colleagues. Throw it on your Twitter, throw it on your Instagram, your Facebook, wherever it is. And if people can donate to that, we've gone over the 5,000, so we're out just over halfway there. And our golf day is coming up in a couple of weeks, where we hope to put another load of money in after prizes and raffles and stuff like that. And we're not going to stop till we get to the 10k. And then when we get to the 10k, we give it all to Féileacáin. They'll be delighted, and we move on to our next charity, because that's what we do.
Nice.
It's been a great show, Joe. I've loved having you back on. I would have had you on next season even if you were in the championship, because genuinely, you are one of the most in-demand guests on this channel. Because when Anton comes up, they go, get Joe on. And it's probably because he's a Leeds fan. He hates fucking everybody. He really hates Frank Lampard. And then it's coupled with Everton, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Red Steve says, Gav, get Joe to read our IP Vanish spiel. No, but I will tell you about IP Vanish. IP Vanish is a VPN service rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. One touch of a button protects your data, your passwords, all that sort of stuff, whether at home or on the move. Tablets, phones, desktops, wherever it might be. Check out ipvanish.com/daytrippers. Link is in the description. You will get your VPN for next to nothing for a year. $3.20 it works out at. Most VPNs range from $8 to $15. Barry Devaney says, 2 top football men. Great show, lads. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I have to say, it was a really easy thing to do. And when you're doing season reviews, sometimes they're hard, but when you have somebody from another club doing it with you, it's spot on. Let me see. Do I have the right thing here? I do. I'm just double checking, Joe, that I'm going to press the right button because I've that much stuff in front of me, man. I swear to fucking God. Let me see. There we go. Right. Anything else before we go?
No, all good. Thank you for having me on as always. I always jump on the Trippers when I can and watches when I can, and some great bunch. I said I said to my partner, they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm on with the Irish lads tonight. I love the Irish lads." I said, "Yeah." So I really enjoy it, man. I really do enjoy it. Thanks, man.
Well, we really enjoy having you, and of course, next season, we will be talking to you when Liverpool are meeting Leeds, whether that be in leagues or cups, and then just randomly you can come on and shout about Frank Lampard as much as you like. That is an open invitation. That has been it. That has been the Midweek Fix. We are back tomorrow with another Midweek Fix, actually, but it's a Divock Origi special. Come and join me, Keith and Shawnee as we talk about Divock Origi from genuinely the time he was born right up until Sunday when it was his last appearance at Anfield when he didn't play. He's a muscle injury. He's not even going to play Saturday, but he will go down as one of the biggest cult heroes for me in Liverpool history. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.